Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today I have a video for you guys from SethTheProgrammer. Now this is the second video from SethTheProgrammer, I think the first one being focused on Aizen. This one, however, is going to be focusing on another franchise, which isn't even anime or manga. This is going to be focusing on video game, specifically one of my absolute favorite video game characters of all time, and that is Kratos from the God of War franchise. Now he did a video talking about how strong Kratos is, and I'm looking forward to seeing this and of course getting your guys' thoughts as always, which you can let me know in the comment section down below after you've done the YouTube stuff, you know, liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, all that stuff. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's just go ahead and watch the video.
That left hook, the human skull cannot take it.
Oh, big shot by McGregor. Look at the clock closely. 10 seconds. Oh, he's hurt. Could he finish him here?
Nani?
How strong is Kratos from God of War? Right off the bat, I believe it's important to preface the importance of how strong you exactly determine where you should gather information for deciding just how strong this God of War is. People tend to go with one of two routes: going solely off of what's shown in the games, or going off of the lore/novels of the characters. It is now my onus to prove which one is more valid from there. Video games are generally very limited in what they can do, and this is due to the fact that it can be extremely difficult to display some things that a character can accomplish, because it may break the immersion, style, or flow of the game the directors are trying to go for. A great example to back up this point: what kind of game would God of War be if you killed every single normal enemy in one hit, or moved so fast everything seemed motionless all the time? It'd be pretty different and, well, boring. Many game designers I've spoken to for this video and researched, when it comes to this issue, almost all agree. Doing anything of the sort that could show Kratos' power consistently with all his lore all the time in game would be insanely difficult in terms of enjoyment and the actual money that would be needed to be spent just to make a game that high-paced at all times. You'd essentially be playing a planet-busting simulator. And of course, this is shown in other games as well. Say, for example, Bloodborne, where the hunter has a tool that can create small star explosions, whereas in the game, the explosions created just for the mechanics are nowhere even as big as a building. But why listen to me on this? Why not listen to the director of God of War himself, Cory Barlog?
No matter what game we worked on, and I think this was even with the handheld games, the first two games and the third game, and even the current game, people are like always pointing out Kratos is a god, he can take down these giant creatures, yet he struggles with a chest. And I was like, guys, this is the concession you just sort of have to accept.
Yeah,
it's like people
just
who question,
it.
you know, where does Batman fill up the gas in the Batmobile
It's
before
one
it
of
was
those questions
nuclear
where
powered.
you just,
You know, you don't imagine him at 3 in the morning trying to get a fill up. And I think it is just one of those concessions that in order to get the dynamics within the game, yes, sometimes it's...
And just to give you an example, okay, you can see him swinging the blades, right? We know that these are the same blades that he uses to kill these, like they said, primordial beings, and yet for some reason they can't cut through a column of concrete. Like you can see that there are some concessions you do have to accept when you make a game, especially when you have characters that are, you know, stated to be these like godly level beings.
You have to struggle and press the button to lift up a gate.
Like, okay, for example, why does he need to struggle against common soldiers when he's a literal god?
Lift up, you know, the world with Atlas, and it is that you'd never, I think, be able to have any dynamics in the game if it was always adhering to that one reality.
For For this video, let's specifically discuss Kratos from God of War 4 and how he's insanely underrated in comparison to what is shown in the previous games. Many people, for whatever reason, project this Wolverine, Logan-esque stigma onto Kratos in the 4th game, like he's this old, weakened man and nothing like he used to be, when that is not at all necessarily true. Throughout all of the 4th game, Kratos is struggling to hold back his godly anger and powers, and even attempts to hide them from his son Atreus. In Chapter 0 of the God of War 4 comic on the PlayStation Store, this is displayed very powerfully, with Kratos standing still and simply defending himself from a pack of wolves for hours until they get tired and simply leave him alone. He had no intent to kill or hurt them, and this is even exaggerated further when a bunch of trolls come to take out Kratos, and as despicable and disgusting as they are, when Kratos is forced to hurt and kill them, he is completely ashamed with himself and is disgusted and depressed just from killing these heinous trolls that have no morality whatsoever. This then begins to slowly change and dissipate when Kratos meets a Conor McGregor-like figure and has a Man of Steel type fight with him to defeat what would be the Norse god Baldur, the son of Odin and the one who represents that of light, without even using...
It's like the thing that a lot of people don't understand is they take what Baldur said in the game, where he said, you know, old and slow, you never should have come back to Midgard. But what a lot of people don't understand is that gods aren't like us. They're not like mortals, or at least they're not like that in the games. Like they don't get weaker the older that they get. They're not like other series that you see where, you know, you have this character that's stated to be a legendary figure in this world, but because they're older, you know, they're not what they were when people knew them to be these legendary figures. Like usually when they are stated to be these titanic figures in the world, they were usually called as when they were in the prime of their lives. But by the time let's say, for example, the main character meets them, they're past their prime, and even though they're still powerful, they're nowhere near what they were. Okay, just to give you an example, perfect example, look at One Piece. By the time Luffy meets Whitebeard, he's older. He's still incredibly powerful and not someone to be messed with. But when you compare him to Prime Whitebeard, which I'm sure a lot of you have probably already seen in the anime, like, yeah, he's nowhere near what he was back then. Not only is he older, but he's also sick. So the guy was already on death's door, and he was already pulling off everything that he did at Marineford. So that alone should tell you how powerful he was. And then another example is Garp. Garp, who was once considered to be a war hero, is still powerful, but yeah, nowhere near what he was in his prime. Like, for example, when he fought, the Rocks pirates I can't remember when exactly that happened. Oh yeah, in God Valley, like nowhere near. So, but the thing is that it's not the same in the God of War universe. Like, gods don't get weaker as they get older, because they're not like us. They're not mortals like us. They don't get weaker as they age. If anything, they probably get stronger.
Kratos' full powers. Even after this battle, Kratos is still holding back most of the time to allow his son to grow stronger and more experienced. Not to mention, during the fight with Baldur, he was extremely worried about the collateral damage to his house where his son was hidden, because he didn't want to expose that he had a son to Baldur. So it's not so much that Kratos got massively weaker over the years, it's more so that his character development along with his son called for a form of pseudo-nerf that didn't really stop Kratos from powering up and fighting gods later on when it mattered. If anything, it was great for the story, just not so great for scaling his strength when viewing it at first glance. Throughout the story, Kratos
look what he does here,
as would be consistent with his mythology of flipping over, say, a temple on a pivot and pushing a massive bridge through water that easily weighs over 1.1 million tons, lowballing. However, Kratos' most feats are actually at the start and the very end of the game, and that is beating the ever-living fuck out of the god of light, Baldur. Near the end of the game, you are inside of the World Serpent attempting to find the second eye of Mimir. Suddenly, the World Serpent shakes 3 times and casts Kratos and gang out and is shown to be unconscious. This act of knocking out the world engulfing serpent being Baldur. Baldur, being the guy you just beat the shit out of earlier, just beat the Norse mythology's Ouroboros in around 3 large notable attacks. The serpent, Jormungand, or this thing,
What is it saying?
He wants to help us!
He needs some milk!
Is one of the last remaining giants in Midgard that fought with the infamous god of strength and son of Odin, Thor. In the words of the goddess Freya, the battle between Thor and Jormungand was so titanic that it shook all of the 9 realms connected to the Yggdrasil, and would be followed up in legend that another battle would cause the serpent to be flung back in time. This battle between Thor and the giant was before the giant even grew to engulf all the world and possibly the 9 realms themselves. These realms are somewhat convoluted in size. Some express that Midgard is the universe, or that Midgard is the entire planet, with the other realms being other dimensions laying on the branches of the Yggdrasil itself. The Yggdrasil, also known as the World Tree, supports all of creation, time, space, death, rebirth, everything, and surpasses it, with every strand within the tree's branches and trunks surpassing time itself. With the realms having to be nestled on branches rather than strands, it's very clear they are too big to even sit on a strand that surpasses the concept of time-space. And with the World Serpent and Thor already proving they surpass time and space by casually shaking and warping numerous realms that are quite possibly their own universes laid atop each other, this would speak volumes of Baldur and the Norse gods who Kratos is being faced with. Feats such as the gods and Kratos surpassing these concepts are supported throughout even the game mechanics in the previous installations, in which you can collect multiple dewdrops from the Yggdrasil itself to power up Kratos. That means he gets amps that surpass time-space, and they only somewhat give him a boost, an abysmal one if anything. Kratos then retains or reobtains the Blades of Chaos that can even burn in a realm where fire cannot exist, and uses his true powers to defeat an even stronger and more passionate variant of Baldur alongside Atreus. This Kratos is considered to be the most featless incarnation of Kratos, and for the most part, it may very well be one of them. Before time existed, the primordials created the universe and went to war. Later down the line, titans and giants were born, such as Kronos, the father of Zeus, and with his birth, time was also born. Kronos would then go off to defeat the embodiment of the universe, Uranus, the creation of Gaia. After such, Kronos would be surpassed by Zeus and his brothers, as well as being a second to Atlas, the strongest of the titans. So right off the bat, even within the gods, creating time...
Hold on, I want to read this. Hey, Mr. Gary, sorry to bother you again. Thanks for all your help before. Is it okay if I ask one last God of War related question? It's the last one, I promise. It's about the Titans, specifically Atlas and Zeus' father, Kronos. Would you say that they're comparable strength-wise? I know Atlas was stuck holding up the entire world for quite a while, and Kronos was supposedly the leader of the Titans, so it got me wondering. I think it would be a good, nearly equal fight. Atlas with a slight edge. Oh. Well, I guess it kind of makes sense if he, if strength-wise, Atlas would be stronger, since again he is holding up the fucking world. So,
and being the embodiment of the confirmed infinite universe isn't even top.
When the ocean began to boil at the far horizon, the frothing churn raced towards the shore where Athena stood, and an instant later a vast water sprouts roared up to meet the sea with the infinite... Oh, okay. Poised amid the muddiness, a column of water stood Poseidon. Brawny arms crossed over his thick chest, his crown was crested with barnacles, and his trident dripped blood. Okay.
Top tier in the world of God of War. As a reminder as well, Kratos was stated to be able to hold the weight of the world up with Atlas and bear the entire weight of the cosmos, and casually overpowered and pretty much bullied Kronos, who created the concept of time throughout the infinite universe. In the realm of Hades, these realms being made infinite in size by Helios and Nyx, was lit up at an infinite speed by Helios's light. Kratos and Helios then fight later on, with Kratos being able to dodge this infinite light speed pretty casually. This makes sense as well, as Kratos is easily able to...
I'm in the boss fight and I'm just trying to trying out different stuff. I noticed that he's the only character / enemy in the game that's able to completely dodge Helios's head solar flare charge up move, and even if he's close to, was that meant to be a deliberate depiction of the character's speed in relation to the other character / enemies? Thanks in advance. At the Helios head, yeah, that was definitely the intent. Oh, okay, so that pretty much shows you how fast he is.
To obliterate Zeus's warriors, who have moves like the essence of Hyperion that can move at speeds of light casually and so forth. By the end of Kratos' journey through Greek mythology, he fights Zeus with the Blade of Olympia. Zeus, being the strongest of the gods, gets his ass completely pummeled and destroyed by Kratos. It is then revealed Kratos has the strongest power of the gods in the entire universe, the power of hope. This power surpasses all of the infinite scaling and feats all the other gods displayed throughout the game, and even the script writers consistently back this up as being valid, as in their own words, Zeus couldn't kill Kratos, Gaia couldn't kill Kratos, only Kratos can kill Kratos. And I absolutely guarantee that he and Atreus will use the same philosophy on the Nordic gods as well. Well, that's my God of War power scale. Put a lot of research into this, a little bit of effort. I tried to get Corey Barlog on for an interview or maybe a little discussion about this, but he's already had a few interviews that kind of touched up on what I was already going to ask him anyway, so we just used that instead. If you enjoyed the video and you're looking forward to more, you know, maybe hit that like button and consider subscribing. I am going to possibly consider doing Kratos versus Thanos because some people have been actually asking me to, and now that Kratos has actually come out to be a lot stronger than a lot of people kind of getting credit for due to the game mechanics, I thought it might actually be valid. So other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and till next time.
If I'm not mistaken, we've yet to discuss the tale of the giant Berglmir.
Oh yeah, I remember his shrine. It looked happier than the other ones, mostly.
It begins in an ocean of blood.
Finally, a story worth hearing.
If you remember, Ymir, the first giant, was fatally stabbed by Odin. It's in his blood our story starts. Ymir's magical guts poured out in a torrent so violent it threatened to flood all of creation. The Jotnar were unprepared, as the very last of them were washed away in the endless tide. Not just Ymir, but all of giant kind faced extinction. And so would Odin's victory have been complete. But Ymir's kind did not all perish that day. Staying afloat in the hollowed husk of a tree, the frost giant Berglmir endured, as did his lady wife. For weeks they sailed, until finally they came upon a new land. They called it Jotunheim. And there they would start anew. As father and mother they would multiply exceedingly, and as king and queen they worked to make Jotunheim a land where giants would know no master but themselves. Berglmir never sought revenge for Odin's slaughter. His vengeance was to live and prosper. He died at peace, a legion of his kin to mourn him. He would ever be known as Berglmir the Beloved.
Berglmir the Beloved. Huh. I've never heard a story end that way. Not a true one, anyway.
If you do, laddie.
For all of creation. Okay, so that's the video. And you know what? That little story, I know it probably had nothing to do with the actual video, but it reminds me of one of the reasons why I absolutely love the God of War game on PS4. It's because of the stories that Mimir tells you whenever you get on the boat and you just start, rowing. I always love those stories, and it's one of the things where I would always stop, just stop the progression of the story just so I could hear the story, all of it. And it did kind of suck that they ended after a while, but I guess you could always go back, play the game again so you could hear those stories again. Or you could or you could buy the audiobook for God of War, and you could listen to the voice actor from Mimir actually read the actual the actual novelization of the game. But anyway, that's the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts, of course, as always, in the comment section down below. I absolutely like this video, and especially because it once again showed you that, yeah, these characters usually in video games are a lot more powerful than they're actually shown in the story, because because of game mechanics, because otherwise the game would be kind of pretty boring, like they said. So yeah, I think it's important to know just how powerful they are, because unfortunately there are a lot of people out there who don't bother to do their research, and because of that, characters are downplayed and they're not properly represented as to how powerful they actually are. So I'm gonna end it right here, guys. Remember to like the video, share the video if you haven't, subscribe if you haven't, not just to my channel, but go subscribe to Seth as well. Show him some support, and remember to click on the bell icon to let you know whenever I post a new video or whenever I go live. With all that said, guys, remember to stay safe and take care of yourselves, and please join me for the next video. Bye for now.